Hello, 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 and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Jameelah, and I am a master manifester, and I'm sure you are too, because you're watching content like this. The name of this channel is Manifesting Magic the Practical Way, because there are a lot of practicalities related to manifesting the lives that we choose, right? And speaking of that, I'm going to talk about one big practicality today that we all understand the importance of, or lack the understanding for the importance of, or whatever. And that's money. That's like currency. That's your finances and stuff, right? This is this is a big lesson. I was going to start with something else, but I think it's a good place to start. This is a big lesson where I learned about that, right? If you are in any place where you are perceiving your value to be less because you have less money, you're going to find yourself in situations that are not pleasing to you because you allow the decisions to be made based on the value you thought you had. Did I say that correctly? Right? Whenever you get into the place where you start allowing your finances to be your value, like they start to create your value system, what you find is that you'll end up in places and environments that you are not interested in. That's very common. The reason why is because it's not coming directly from a place of, this is what I truly want to experience. This is what I truly want to desire. This is what I'm moving towards. This is my excitement for this thing. It's going to a place it's coming from a place of, I don't, since I don't have, I shouldn't have a voice. And if I don't have, then my opinion or contribution is not very important, right? Is so off base. But this lesson is taught early on. We tell children the reason why our opinions and what we want them to do and what we are deciding for them or whatever is more important, because we're the ones who take care of them to some extent, right? And it's kind of true. But we think that ends in parent-child relationships. No. If you get a message early on that your opinions and your belief systems or your values are only as important as the amount of money you have in your pocket at that given time, when you get older and have relationships, you tend to fall into the same mindset. So say you're making group decisions, or you're making couple decisions, or you're making family decisions. The person who has less of an income at any given time often is the person who makes less of the decision. And it doesn't mean that the person with the less of the income is happy with the decision that was being made. It means that they allowed the decision because they thought that their value was based on what they brought to the table financially. I know this is all over the place, but this is one of those nuances that I'm like, you got to point out, because a lot of people don't even know that they're doing it. It's especially in relationships where you have two people have incomes, different incomes. One person's a higher earner, and they start being in a position of making all the decisions related to everything that needs to happen, right? And if you're a person that doesn't value your opinion and your values and where you want to go in life just because you do, and you make a mistake and allow your finances to kind of start telling that story, you wind up doing everything the other person wants to do because they had the more money, and the decisions weren't really made as a group, right? And that's so important to remember, because it causes a lot of regret and a lot of resentment in those types of situations too. And especially a discontentment, because if you are in a situation with someone and you know that you have the financial upper hand and you know that you can make all of the decisions if you want to, it will never behoove you to push it, because all you're going to do is, when the person can have more and do more and bring more to the table, the first thing they're going to do is get out of the little prison. And they just can't help it, because that idea and that decision that was being made, it really wasn't what they truly desired. And there's no way to get around that. And I think that is one of the biggest mistakes that we can make in our lives, is making our value equivalent to finances. In so many places, that is how you'll be treated, right? But in our personal environments and environments where things really matter to us on a day-to-day basis, we can't put money first. We can't put finances first. Because once you do that, then you are a slave to the finances, and the finances are no longer a slave to you, right? You are a slave to the inanimate objects, and the inanimate objects are no longer a slave to you, right? The objects own you, the environments own you, and you have to make decisions based on being owned by the environment. And I think the funny thing is that a lot of people think that they are owning the environment when they when they make decisions based on their value being their finances. And I'm like, no, you're limiting yourself to be owned by whatever you create. Because if you put down an anchor and land yourself in a socioeconomic status or bracket that you think that you are financially equivalent to, what happens when you start to outgrow that environment? You have to do so much shedding of all the stuff you collected at that level. My goal in life is to continue to grow, to continue to evolve, and to continue to expand. And that also comes with more of a financial abundance. But it's financial abundance on my own terms. It's not on the terms of anybody else's, do this, do that, do this. No, I can pretty much show up as me and just do what I know how to do best. And then that is my contribution, because that is where my value truly lies, right? But if I start putting my value on the outside of me into like money and inanimate objects, then I have a life where I am a slave to what those environments need, as opposed to those environments being a slave to me. It's the difference between the hunter and gatherer mentality, meaning that you got to go out and get everything, and everything is as it is, and you have to adjust everything about yourself. You got to put on the hunting gear. You have to get in camouflage. You have to go out there and gather. You have to do it to the rules that are outside. Now, when you talk about agricultural, that's the next phase of human development. I'm just comparing, this is a good metaphor. That was when they decided, I don't like those conditions out there. I want to create the same thing, but I want to bring it to this environment. So while you go out there and hunt your wild, geese or something, I'm just going to go ahead and mate and put some geese on my farm, and then they'll be right here for me whenever it's time for me to use them, right? So it's the difference between being attached to the race and the race being attached to you, right? You got to keep that in mind. Do you want to be attached to the race, or do you want the race to be attached to you? And that's the difference between out there, stumping the pavement, trying to get people to see how great you are in your jobs, or having people call you up and request things that they know you're good at and they know you can do for them, right? See, the second one, the latter, is what I'm trying to move to. And I know that making any moves in my life that goes into the environment of chasing something or settling for something that I don't want just because it's available to me is always going to lead me to the place of, I don't want this thing. It never changes. And normally it starts when you start to put a financial lid on what you think you are what's available to you, what you're creating, and then you start to act accordingly. And then you become a slave to all of these inanimate objects around in your life that don't truly speak to who you are, because who you are, you buried under what you thought your financial value was. Does that make sense? I feel like I was all over the place today, but I feel like I was right on time for people that understand what I'm saying. Do not place your own value on a financial value. It's just not worth it. Because what you're saying then is that I don't get a voice because I don't have the money. So then when you get the money, then you gain the voice. And then what's going to happen after that? You know what I mean? Then you got to do all this untying of things that you latched onto that weren't a part of you, right? I don't go in certain environments and do certain things most of the time because I just know that they're not me. It doesn't really matter. It's not even a hierarchy to me. I think you go and you figure out what you like. It's like food, right? I was telling my daughter, when people in your life try to make you accept something that you don't want, it's equivalent to going to a restaurant and the waitress trying to make you taste something off the menu. So you may go in there and you may take it off the menu and you may say, oh no, I'm going to try this or whatever. I'm going to go for that or something like that. I'm going to go for this thing. And she says, oh, but we have this other appetite. I mean, we have this other appetizer that's like this, that, and that, and all these kind of things. And she's like, but that's coconut in it. And you're like, I know I don't like coconut. But she's like, oh, it's so good. And I hate coconut. And people always try to tell me you're not going to taste the coconut in it. But I can promise you, if somebody hates coconut, they can taste it in everything. A cookie, cooking oil, it doesn't matter if you don't like it. So when people say you can barely taste it, I remember I listened to this lady at Red Lobster. I was like, I don't like coconut. And she was just like, it's coconut fried shrimp, but you can barely taste the coconut once it's fried. Not true. And you know you don't like this thing, right? But you go ahead and order it off the menu because somebody's telling you that it's probably going to be great, right? You try it. When you sit back down at that menu again, are you going to order that thing again if you didn't like it? No. And in life, there's so many people that's trying to get you to order the things off the menu that you don't like over and over again. And it's through advertisements, it's through relationships, it's through teachers, environments, and all that. The schools, I homeschooled for a long time because they were always trying to get me to buy into something that I didn't believe in. And I'm like, I don't want to lie. I don't care about this thing that you're doing. But, you know, if you want me to say this, like if you're telling them why your kid's missing school or something, they make you gotta play the game. They were this, or they were that. You gotta lie about it. So this is what I'm saying. When you get in environments and you start to choose things based upon some type of financial availability to you right then and there, you get into this fight or flight survival mode. When you're in that mode, you start to lower your standards very low because you really just want relief. So anything will do. Now your relief could come in the fashion of you just not doing the thing and be like, you know what? It's not a good time. I don't like how I feel about this. But also your relief could be thinking that you're solving the problem when really you've only created a deeper hole. So don't collect or create things based on some type of financial value. I promise you, it doesn't work. Know what you want. Be willing to be patient for it. Don't make any sporadic moves, and just know that when you take shortcuts or when you try to create something based on a need that you're pretending like you don't think you have, and you did it all because of money, it's going to set you back. You're going to wish you hadn't done it for the money because it's going to set you back further than that money ever set you back, right? It's just how it works, man. If you know what you want, you know where you're headed, you know what you want to create, all that other stuff is going to keep on making roadblocks for you, and it's going to hold you back because you know what you want to do, you know where you want to go, and you know what you want to create, you know the environment you want to be in. You get off that for a second because the world is always trying to suck you into its nonsense. So if you get off that path for a second and let something creep in like self-doubt or low self-esteem or, giving yourself a low self-value because you're basing it on finances, you do that, you're going to find yourself immediately in some place or some environment or doing something that you don't want to do, whether it's a job, whether it's where you live, whether it's who you're with, whether it's where your children are doing, whatever it is. You're going to find it real quick that you pushed into the wrong decision, and you shouldn't have based all of your decisions and your mindset on finances. If there's something that you truly care about and your finances are making a huge, big difference in it, then just don't do the thing right now. Wait until you can either accept doing it at a different level or you can do it at the level that you choose. But anything before that, you're going to want to throw it back at the universe and say, no, I don't want this. Here you go. I don't want it. I'm not being ungrateful, but I'm throwing it back. Maybe somebody else can do something with it. Anyway, I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful day. I hope that made sense to you. Don't put a price tag on your dreams, man. There's a practicality related to all of it. But when you start ranking that hierarchy of finances way too high, it's going to hold you up from everything. Because when you're looking at your finances, you're looking at what you have in there today. And if you don't see a bigger vision for yourself of what can be created, then you're always basing all of your decisions on what's sitting there today. And all your results are always going to be what's sitting there today. You're always going to have the level of your fear and the level of your self-esteem and self-worth. The minute your level of fear and self-esteem and self-worth outgrow the environment, you can no longer be a part of it. That's just the way that works. And if you try to continue to be a part of it, it's going to keep on chopping you down because that's what happens when you know better. When you know better, you do better. I hope y'all have a wonderful, wonderful day.